Did we cut me off? All right. In addition to this, what both Judith Colden and Karen Busquets displayed in the January 12, 2021 meeting was an absolute disgrace to the city. What you both did was wrong. And the parents at the time wanted you to resign, but you again refused to do so. And now we're here, August 19th, 2021, approximately 490 days after initial lockdown, and you continue to not listen to the parents whom you are supposed to serve. So I will make it clear. We want you to end any mask mandates, period. The studies show children are not affected by COVID-19 compared to adults. But this board has disregarded all the studies, and any school board members who bring up the CDC, we did not elect the CDC, we elected you. We are asking our young students, 6-year-olds, our future leaders, not to act like normal children. I've been told by my daughter that she can't play real tag anymore because it's been replaced by shadow tag. She can't talk during lunchtime to other children, which ruins social interactions, and scheduled bathroom times, even though we all know children can't hold it for very long periods of time. And worst of all, my daughter, when she comes home with a soaking wet mask, telling me that she does not want to go to school anymore. You're ruining our children's educational experience, and you're doing it regardless of what the parents say. I am disgusted by this. What makes it worse is that all of you don't have children.
It's 2 minutes and
Judith,
30 seconds.
Karen, you all don't have children. Nathaniel and Kyle Adams. How can you make better decisions than the taxpaying parents who are telling you what they want? It is time to take the mask off.
You're over your time by almost a minute. Could you wrap it up?
Is it because I insulted you? Give me a
No,
second,
it's
please.
not.
It is
that-
time for
it's those
Judith
2
and
minutes,
Karen
sir.
to resign here and now. It is also time for Nathaniel and Kyle Adams to resign for voting Judith Cobden and refusing to listen to parents. It is sad to see that the board and teachers who are concerned about COVID-19 care more about the individual safety than the mental and well-being and normalization of children education. Between the year of 2020 and 2021, more children have committed suicide due to the depression than previous years.
Sir,
Please understand.
It's way over. You're going on 4
I understand, but
minutes.
this is important.
No,
Please.
it's not important if you don't
You're doing the
follow
same thing you're
rules.
doing
You
in
need
January
to follow
12th.
the rules. We have
Okay.
rules for a minute. Could he be
Do you
removed
guys
from
want
here,
me to
please?
speak? Yes or no?
Let him speak.
Listen to the people, because you do not listen to the people.
We do, sir. But there's
No,
a
I'm
rule-
not done.
there's
You
a
be
rule
quiet.
for 2 minutes. Ooh, okay, buddy.
I believe this profession, excuse me, I'm sorry.
We're gonna
Please
recess for a
understand
minute.
that
Please continue. We would like to hear you.
thank you. Please understand that I believe most teachers are phenomenal. I believe the profession is a challenging one, but I wouldn't be here without good teachers. However, this leadership has failed us. We're asking you to listen. You're not elected to sit here, ignore the parents, and only listen to teachers union. You are here for the parents and children only. In conclusion, what we want, the option to wear a mask, school boards and teachers union who put parents and children first, and transparency. I want to be able to access the school's curriculum online at any time and hold teachers responsible for not following them. And the last thing is option of homeschooling and paying the parent that $18,283 because they care more about their children than you do. That is our taxpayers' dollars that belongs to the parents and children, not to the school committee to play with.
Okay, the next is recommended actions, approval of minutes of public sessions, August 10th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, and approval of warrants. from August 19, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of transfers from August 19, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is announcements of personnel as presented. Mrs. Ruggieri.
Good evening. Tonight we have one retirement to announce. We have Anne Marie Alexander, a teacher assistant at the Warwick Early Learning Center. She has been with us for 14 years. We'd like to thank her for her service. So I just need a vote on that retirement.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I also have two resignations. I have Andrea Leong, a reading specialist at Open Beach Elementary School, and Jennifer Galloway Boyce, a teacher assistant at Lippett Elementary School.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I have one withdrawal of a resignation from Troy Sylvia, the assistant principal of climate and culture at Veterans Middle School. I would need a vote for that, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very happy to hear that.
Thank you. And I have some courtesy announcements for some appointments that have been made. We'd like to welcome Tara Murray as a special educator in a grade 1 co-taught class for 1 year only at Open Beach Elementary. Stacy Brennan, a library media specialist at Robertson and Lippett. Michelle Silvestri, a severe profound special educator at Welk Preschool. Margaret Salico, a music teacher at Veterans Middle School. Sandra Rainey, night custodian at Veterans Middle School. Robert Giarusso, a night custodian at Tollgate High School. Matthew Daly as a helper custodian in the maintenance department. Josh Eldridge as a helper custodian in the maintenance department. Brandon Elliott, a helper custodian in the maintenance department. And finally, two administrators, Gary Capolino, the director of special education, and Kimberly Cabana, an elementary principal at Holloman Elementary. I'd like to welcome everyone to the district, and we're here if you need us for anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are any of you here? Welcome aboard. Our doors are always open if you need anything. Thank you. Okay. Now we go on to the adoption of policies. EEAA walkers and riders. It's the second reading. Dr. Cecil.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, school committee members, Madam Superintendent. Yes, we are looking for approval for the second read of policy EEAA, where we have simply changed the distance eligible for transportation and decreased it back to its original numbers. Requesting your approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I just want to ask, I guess I'm going to ask Ms. Machado, just for clarification, for the public's edification, the distances are walking distances, right, via Google Maps, right? So you go into Google Maps, put your address, and click the walking, not the driving. Right?
Correct.
And we do have a process by which, say you're a hair away from the distance. We wait until school starts, right? And then
Correct.
we get that under our belt, and then there's an appeal, for lack of a better word, so a parent can see if there's room on the bus and it can be done. We do that, right?
Sure. So we call it the op capacity, which that form, which is called the transportation request form, it's going to be live on our page on the website starting Monday. And then we look at those requests starting the week of October 15th. So we want the school to start so we can see how many students are actually taking the bus. Then we'll know how many seats are available for the op capacity requests.
And do we do anything internally? How do parents find out about that? Is that generated up from principals, or I'm not sure how that works?
Sure. So, I mean, we're pretty up to date on our page. So we ask that the community visit our page as much as possible because we do update it. We share that information with our schools as well. We also can have Ms. Bodeg send out that information to families as well for the all email.
Thank you.
Mrs. Neely, I just want to say that you've been getting a lot of great comments and from the community that are having issues. They're saying that you're very nice and very helpful. So we appreciate it. Keep up the good work. So, yeah, okay. The next is GBE, Staff Health and Safety. First reading, Dr. Cecil.
Yes, good evening again. This is our policy that includes language around the masks, as well as testing for COVID. So the language, we are keeping the policy original language as is, which is that we will require all persons inside of a Warwick Public Schools facility to wear a face mask. We are adding the language, masks will be required for everyone, regardless of vaccination status, until the superintendent/school committee deem it safe to make masks optional in school. This decision will be made in part by the most current CDC and Rhode Island Department of Health guidance and other mitigating factors. So that's the first change. We're deleting the sentence, the required use of masks will remain in effect until the school committee ends the requirement, because this paragraph takes care of that. And then we're adding language around testing, because we will be adding testing programs in our schools this year. And the language reads, some infectious diseases, viruses, et cetera, may be so dangerous and the risk of casual transmission so great that effective response will require broader measures. Based upon specific recommendations from local, state, and/or federal health authorities, the superintendent is authorized to implement COVID testing in schools. Parents who wish to allow their child to be tested when showing symptoms will sign a consent form at the start of the school year. School nurse teachers will test staff members or students with signed consent showing symptoms of COVID with a Binax test or the most recent recommended test by the CDC and RIDO. In the event of an outbreak of cases, RIDO will come on site to conduct PCR testing. COVID testing will be conducted as needed and only for persons who are symptomatic. And we may need to change that language to add asymptomatic. We can go back and change that later, but this is the,
Yeah, we feel,
once we,
Mr. Hennius feels comfortable with that.
right, once we get the program approved, because we're
Okay.
not there yet.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Dr. Cecil, I just have one question. Just in terms of testing with the Binax test. Now, I'm assuming this is like from box from store, right? Correct?
This is tests that we receive from the state.
Okay.
state's providing it.
Okay. Is that 2 tests or 1? Because just for clarification, if you do go down to any store that has a Binax test, it says it has 2, but it's really 1. You're supposed to take both. So I just want to make sure that like we're not exposing kids to multiple tests just for redundancy's sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, this will, we have a grant that we are in the process of writing that is through the state that's offering funds to have testing, be able to test on site. There's training for our nurse teachers. We're going to hire somebody also to go around and to assist with the testing. Obviously we're going to have the consent forms and the state will provide the testing kits to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Testa.
I have several questions. Mr. Adams, I believe our nurses have been trained to administer tests, correct? Right? Didn't our school nurses last year be trained to administer tests. Am I wrong, Mr. Jerry?
They weren't specifically trained for the testing last year.
No? Okay, I stand corrected. I'm sorry. With respect, I know we're speaking of the policy, but what I need to know, and I don't know this, and I think I'm directing this to either Mr. McCaffrey or Ms. Dambrook, the quarantine policy or protocol from RIDO. So I don't know what that is. I know it differs from last year, correct? So can someone just answer what happened? Oh, here's my example. You have a fourth grade class, you have a positive student in that class. What's the quarantine process?
So right now, what we're looking at is looking at the seating chart. Anyone that was within 3 to 6 feet longer than the close contact definition, which is greater than 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. Those students would be quarantined. They would have to test on day 3 to 5 of exposure and then could return on day 8.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, and I asked that intentionally because as I think some parents in the audience know, about 3 weeks ago, I wasn't a big fan of mandatory masks. I didn't think the data showed any compelling interest in it. We're a highly vaccinated state, and I think our current hospitalization and God forbid death rates, I think, prove that. But when it came to, that was my personal opinion. But my personal opinion has to take the back seat to what happens in the classroom. So to your specific example, we don't have distance learning this year. And I'm happy for that because I don't think distance learning is successful at all. There may have been some exceptions, but by and large, I don't think it's good. So without that, you could have a classroom of 22 kids suddenly go down to a classroom of 17. And there's no DL component here. So if we went to a policy of recommending masks, you're going to have more kids show up without masks, which is going to raise the probability that you're going to have positive cases, which is going to raise the probability that you're going to have less than full classrooms. So the governor's actions today kind of change all that anyway, because districts don't have the latitude. But I do have a question for, I think it's our attorney, Mr. Hennius. In our policy, we do speak to, things could change, right? If either the state or if Warwick became a low transmission city, right? Prior to the governor's actions, we would reserve the right to make a determination, based on the recommendation of the superintendent, that we could go back to a recommended mask if Warwick became a low transmission city. I don't know if the governor's executive order would make that moot. And you may not have the answer right now, but that's an open question for me, because personally, school committees are elected to make these decisions. I don't like when they're made from up on high. I think we're perfectly capable of making the decision, but that's another conversation for another time. So my last question, I think, is to Ms. Dambrook. At what point during the day, tell me when kids don't have to wear masks during the school day?
So, Mr. Testa, we do have mask breaks on a regular basis. And also last year, the students in the spring were able to attend recess without wearing their masks.
And at the secondary level, if the kids are outside at the secondary, I'm talking middle school and high school for phys ed, we're going to start the year September, October. The weather should be pretty nice, maybe even into November. So these kids are going to be outside. So do they have to wear their masks when they're outside?
We'll follow whatever policy the state has adopted, the governor has adopted at this.
Right,
point.
and I think the governor today said mask indoors.
Indoors.
He said indoors only, right? So, well, I don't want us to take extra liberties if we don't have to, that's all. Because I hate this. I hate wearing this thing, as most people do. So if there's opportunities for our kids to take them off during the school day, whether it's outside or
Lunchtime.
right? Because like someone said, you go to a restaurant, you can sit down and take your mask off and eat. So I think that was one final thing. I did get an email from a parent. It was a screenshot from another district's meeting, and it was a K through 12 close contact exception. And then I heard Dr. Scott allude to it today in her remarks. So to me, it sounds kind of Rube Goldberg type, but so you could have 2 kids in close contact and then Some of them don't have to quarantine. So we'd be following this then, right? If we're gonna adopt the state's protocols, right? So this would apply. This is I'm just gonna read it, I'm sorry. A K through 12 student exposed to another K through 12 student infected with COVID-19 does not need to quarantine if all of the following apply. Both the infected and exposed close contact are K through 12 students. The exposure occurred in an indoor K through 12 classroom. Both the exposed and the infected students wore face masks at all times during the close contact exposure, and at least 3 feet of physical distance was maintained at all times during the exposure. This exception does not apply to teachers, staff, or other adults in the indoor classroom setting. To me, there's a lot of ifs and whatabouts and maybes in that thing. But if this is the state's policy, then if we're going to adopt it, that's fine. I think we just staff needs to understand this, as do parents. So at some point, we've got to communicate that out to what all these protocols are. And I think that's all I had.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess we should take a vote.
You need to make a motion first.
We have a
Motion.
motion.
A motion to approve the first reading of policy GBE.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cecil. Moving along to new business, discussion action, Director of Special Services contract, Ms. Danbrook and Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I'm requesting that you approve the contract for Gary Capolino as the new Director of Special Services as presented in executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And discussion action, elementary principal contract, Ms. Danbrook and Mrs. Cousino.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I am recommending that you approve the contract for Kimberly Cabana, who will be the new principal at Holloman Elementary School, as presented in executive session.
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone, either of you here?
Kimberly's here. Welcome.
Hello.
Excellent. Discussion update, monthly fiscal report, Mr. McGrath. Requisitions approved of $500 to $4,999.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
we're tabling the monthly fiscal report. The requisitions for 500 to 5,000 were in your packets.
Okay.
Mr. McGrath will be ready to present to you the end of year report at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to number 4, discussion action, request for additional social workers, 2021, 2022. Ms. Roy and Ms. Murray.
So Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I could
Oh.
start. All right, so Madam Chair, members of the school committee, we are respectfully requesting 3 additional social workers as one only position, which would be ESSER funded, and 1 additional social worker as a 1-year only at the Windman Middle School. So the 3 additional social workers would be placed in the elementary schools, and 1 would be placed at Windman Middle School. So these additional social workers are needed to fill the holes that we have. We are quite concerned of the social and emotional well-being of our staff and our students, and we need to fill some of the gaps in the schools that don't have many social workers or much time with social workers. Mrs. Roy is in the audience to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is discussion action, contract award food safety inspections, Ms. Machado.
Sure, I'm requesting approval on continuing a contract with First Inspections. So each of our kitchens require 2 inspections each year to stay in compliance with RIDE requirements and state regulations.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Machado. Discussion action, contract award, food service student management system. Ms. Machado.
I'm requesting approval for the annual payment for Titan School Solution Software, which is our school food service point of sale cloud-based software.
Move approval, and I do have one question.
I have a question too.
Second.
Mr. Tessa?
No, thank you. Ms. Machado, was this paid out of operating budget or does this come from the lunch fund?
It comes from operating budget.
Operating. All right, I'm 0 for 2. Thank you.
That was actually my question too. so. Okay, discussion action. All in favor? Aye. Sorry. Discussion action, contract award, Veterans Middle G-Wing Restoration, Mr. Oliver.
Good evening, requesting your approval on this contract. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have any questions?
I do. I was going to make a motion, but I'll ask the questions
Okay.
first. Thank you. Mr. Oliver, this is all for Vets G-Wing, correct?
That is correct.
And I don't think I'm a rocket scientist, but I think this all is an outgrowth of the attempt to start a project in G-Wing that got halted, right?
Correct.
Okay, so just as I keep track in my mind here, we spent, I think, 36 or 35 grand to move it out. We spent money to move-
39.
And we spent money to move it back in, and we're spending money to fix the stuff that was disturbed because of that. So I would move approval. I think everybody in this room knows that we don't normally operate this way, and I just move approval.
I'm just going to add that I want to thank Mr. Oliver for taking care of this. I know it's been a headache and a big rush to get it done before school starts. I did go and visit G-Wing during the week, and I saw the workers already starting to work, and that was a happy feeling. And I look forward to seeing that corridor with not all this stuff in it. And I just want to thank you. You're doing a great job considering what you were handed. But those rooms did need to be painted and cleaned and fixed up. So there is positive out of that. And the ceilings are getting taken care of where the insulation is. So that's what can take the good out of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Discussion action, contract award technology, Promethean boards. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. What we have before you this evening is a request for approval to purchase additional Promethean boards, 39 Promethean boards, to continue our implementation into the elementary school classrooms. Along the same lines of the Promethean board project that's been going very, very well this summer, the installation, thanks to a major team effort with Mrs. Cosino, working with the principals and the teachers, Mr. Oliver, Ms. Higgins, and their teams installing the Promethean boards, and our technicians. This would add to the phase 2 of that project.
Move approval.
Second. Madam Chair, I have a question for Mr. Taylor.
Yes,
Thank you. No, sorry, Dr. Taylor. So will we now have Prometheans in every classroom at the elementary level?
With this addition, we'll be very, very close on the second phase. And from that point, in addition to the classrooms, we looked at the common areas of the libraries. But with these numbers, I would defer to Mrs. Cosino to see how close we would be in the last phase, which we'd bring before you in the future.
Okay.
So to date, we have approximately 80 boards installed out of 165, and that leaves approximately about anywhere from 2 to 4 classrooms without Promethean boards, but they are located on stands for like a community space or an itinerant teacher. So we are planning at a later date to complete this project and get them in all the classrooms, but we'll be about 80 to 85% of the way there once this phase is finished.
Good.
That's
And
excellent.
at installation, will we have it done for the start of school, do we think?
So these additional boards, we won't, because
Right.
that's pending your approval this evening. But the boards that we have currently in hand, approximately 225 or so boards. As Mrs. Cosino said, we're probably about halfway through on the installation. And that's been accomplished over just the last few weeks. So it's really been an excellent effort on the part of all the technicians and the installers. We are hoping that at the start of the school year, we will be near completion of the boards that we currently have. And that includes the 51 that we have on stands currently already in the schools.
Okay.
So right now with the approximately 92 boards as of tonight installed on walls, plus the 51 boards, that's the total that Ms. Cosino mentioned.
Okay, so it's going along. I want to thank Mr. Oliver and Mr. Gothberg too for, I mean, you guys are instrumental in all this as well. And I do want to point out, Mr. Gothberg, you did tell me that in some cases where you install a Promethean board, you use the only plug that a teacher has. So we're going behind that and we're giving them extra plugs because it makes no sense to plug in a Promethean board if the teacher can't plug in her Chromebook or whatever. So, all right, thank you very much.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Next is discussion action of contract award for WSC and WTU contract books.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I am requesting your approval for the payment of Ken's Printing that printed the WTU contract.
Have a motion of approval.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next is discussion action, contract award special services, contracted nursing.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I am requesting approval for the contracted nursing. These nurses helps students with fragile medical conditions. And also we use them when our nurses are sick and we don't have any sub nurses available. They come out to the schools and fill in for us.
Motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion action, contract award Veterans Middle School asbestos abatement. Mr. Oliver.
Good evening. I'm requesting your approval on this contract. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I move approval and I would just ask Mr. Gothberg, this is related to the previous one I asked you about, right?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, discussion action, contract award district electric alarm monthly monitoring. Mr. Oliver again.
I'm requesting your approval on this contract. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions on the one?
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion action, contract award Rhode Island Association of School Principals, Elementary and Secondary 2021 and 22 memberships.
Yes,
Cosino and Mr. McCaffrey.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, RIASP is a professional organization for school administrators that provides professional development, monthly meetings, advocacy at the state level to help improve teaching and learning. Also, please note that most school district administrators belong to this association. All high school administrators have to belong to this association to participate in athletics in the interscholastic league. I ask you move passage for this item. Are there any questions?
Move approval. Second, and Mr. McCaffrey, I have no problem with this. I just wish that all of the associations, including the Association of School Committees, will all work together sometimes.
together,
Sometimes we're all
right.
rowing our own boats. And
It's costly.
we're all involved in the same mission, which is strange to me, but thank you.
It's a costly issue. Okay, discussion action. Oh, we need to take a motion to approve.
It's been moved and seconded. It just needs to be.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, discussion
Thank you
action.
very much.
Thank you. Discussion action, contract award demographic study. Mr. Gothberg.
Madam Chair, I think we skipped one. We're on 14.
Oh,
Mentoring
I'm sorry.
services.
Contract award mentoring services.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, we've had a long partnership with the Rhode Island Mentors, and we would like to continue that partnership, and I'm asking approval for the mentor program.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This is a great program. Happy to prove that. Discussion action, contract award, the demographic studies. Mr. Gotberg now.
Madam Chair, committee members, Superintendent.
Mhm.
As you know, we're moving forward with the stage 1, stage 2 submission to RIDE. At our last meeting with RIDE, to nail down the square footage that we're going to need for both buildings, they are strongly requesting that we do a census-based demographic study. So through Frank Locker, we requested one from Cropper, who is really the only one who does it in this area. And we put it through the stage 1, stage 2 team. So the number is $16,200, I believe, yes. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We seek your approval.
Demographic study for the schools.
So regarding the demographic study, so what specifically would they be looking for?
With the demographic census-based demographic study is they study the census, they look at the demographics throughout the city. They're also looking at, as the city is aging out, who would possibly be moving in based on the census around Warwick, to see exactly what we have when the school is built, the next 10 years, what would we have for student population? Because the high schools need to be built. Academic students need 185 square foot per student. Career and tech need 225. So it's critical that we know exactly how many students are going to be in the district over the next 10 years so we can build the high schools correctly if they're approved.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I move approval, and I just want to have one comment.
Sure.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Gotberg, this is really necessitated by the RIDE stage 1 and stage 2 submissions, right?
That's correct. We're looking at NASDAQ numbers, and, the most accurate one we feel we had was 2019. The ones from 2020 were really skewed by COVID. And they're really not coming out. The next one's not coming out until October. So we really need to nail this down and get a census-based demographic study done.
And Mr. Locker did say that in his line of work, you wouldn't use the 2020 census data because of COVID and how skewed it was. So you really go back to 2019. Now you have a new census just completed. So the bottom line is we have to do this anyway.
Right. And RIDE won't accept the 2019. So, and we need to nail it down because there have been districts that recently who've built schools that were too small.
Right.
And if we're going to spend the money, we do have to do it correctly.
Thank you.
I just have one question.
Sure.
As far as I know, there's a very tight timeline on this. How long does this take to get done, to be completed? Because I know we're
It will
on
take a month.
a month.
Yeah.
And that will still fit in to
It
what we
fits,
have
yeah,
to do
because we
with
really need
RIDE.
it. We need it ready for stage 2 is what we really need.
Okay,
it
so
for.
we'll
Yeah.
stay on target with the dates.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we won't
awesome.
hit, this won't be ready for the 15th.
Awesome.
Right.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Gothberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have contract award curriculum, LETRS training and materials. Dr. Schultz.
Good evening, everybody. Madam Chair, Superintendent Danbrook, thank you for having me. I just wanted to bring this to your attention today. This is a very important request, and this is in order to help us meet the needs of the Right to Read Act, which was passed in 2019. Under this act, we have to make sure that teachers are given either proficiency or awareness training of, well, it can be letters, but it's really the science and structure of reading. And so with that, letters is something that RIDE has approved, and it stands for the Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And with that, teachers will be given 2-year training cohorts. And so this is for the first cohort of teachers. Some of it, the district does have to pay for under the Right to Read Act. Thankfully, we have ESSER 2 funds that are pending approval by RIDE right now that will pay for this. But I just wanted to get your approval on this.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
And then I have a question.
Okay.
So this is new? Because I don't
It's
ever
not
remember-
new, no.
Oh, it isn't. So what are we doing previous years for this?
So-
Were you here?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It came out in 2019, and I think there was some hesitation to act quickly on it because it seemed as if maybe RIDE would give us more time in order to train everybody. Unfortunately, they have not extended the time frame, and we have to make sure that everybody is trained by 2024, which means we're really under the wire at this point. We have to make sure that we train our first cohort this year and start the next cohort next year in order to make sure that we're meeting the needs of this legislation.
Okay, and so is the total spend, the 266,000, is that for the entire training for both cohorts, or will we be looking at this again next year?
That's another great question. That is just for this year.
Okay.
Next year is going to be less money because it's going to be one less cohort. And we also have an in-house trainer that we can utilize to help with that.
Okay, so the other question I would have, I know this will be paid for mostly by ESSER funds, that's fine, but ESSER funds will go away. So if it weren't for ESSER funds, this wouldn't be a budgeted expense?
That's a great
Yeah, I
question.
mean, you weren't around, we developed the budget, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
so I'm very
Okay.
thankful that we have ESSER 2 funds that
Right.
are available. And then it looks like maybe ESSER 3 to take care of the rest of it. And we are fortunate that they can help us pay for this because it is a huge expense. And it is on the district's shoulders to bear that expense. And that's how it is across the state of Rhode Island.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Schultz.
Madam Chair, I'd like
Yes.
to add that the awareness training is free and it's available through Bridge RI, and it's the teachers watching modules. So
Okay.
that portion of the Right to Read Act and filling the obligation is free.
Thank you very much, Dr. Schultz. All in favor?
Aye.
Our last is the contract award grant, ventilation and electrical installation. Mr. Gothberg.
Hi again, Madam Chair. The COVID-19 ventilation grant that we got that also covers electrical and a few other things was supposed to expire on August 21st. So we went ahead and got some quotes from Commercial Electric based on the previous approvals that the committee had for the electrical needed for the purifiers. So what we've done, and we also went to FW Web as they're the distributor for the iWave units that we've piloted at Pilgrim in the gym and tested after we put in. This is for additional air purification, especially in the large spaces with not only HVAC, but if we can use it where we have forced hot air, it also works in that. So we were able to get a quote for $593 each on the iWave C unit for the big HVAC units, which is $16 less than they quoted me before. So because of the quantity we're buying, so we're looking to get 42 of the iWave units for a total of $24,906. Most of them would go here in vets because this is the one place where we have true HVAC. And we will be able to have a long-term solution that we don't have to clean, we don't have to buy filters to help purify the air. So then Commercial Electric for the 14 rooftop units gave me a number for $29.78 to install 3 units per HVAC unit. So 3 iWave units in each HVAC unit. However, in looking at the tonnage and the CFM, we don't think we're going to be able to, we won't have to use all of them here. So we'll be able to move them to other locations. And it's a not to exceed number. And then since we're talking to commercial anyway, we asked them to give us a number per outlet, worst case scenario, second shift, 30 feet of pipe and cable for the Promethean board. So we worked out what I thought it would be and not to exceed number of 49,000 for following behind the Promethean boards and adding power. So what we're doing is, as Mr. Testa said earlier, when we plug in the Promethean boards in a lot of these classrooms, we're taking that one duplex electrical outlet, and now the teacher has nothing to plug into. So we can go behind, we can put a quad, 2 duplexes over it. Now they get back what they originally had, and we can do it at a reasonable cost and move forward. And we'll follow right behind Promethean boards. So we're looking for approval on this.
I just have a question. So a lot of these are going to go into vets first. How many do you
Yes.
think we'll have left over?
What's that?
How many units do you think we'll have left over, and where
Well,
are the
we're looking at it, I was looking at
necessities?
the tonnage today, and it looks like we'll probably use about 30, so we'll have 12 left. So I'd like to do Tollgate, gym, both gyms. We've already done Pilgrim.
Mhm.
And then I'd like to go to Windman and hit that gym. So, you know, the gyms are used quite a bit, not only by our students, but by the public. So I
Okay.
think this would take care of that. And then this is all coming in that grant. So if we have money left from this, then we can look at other solutions for auditoriums, perhaps portable purifiers. So I'll be researching that and hopefully coming back sometime in September with a suggestion and quotes for that, depending on what we have left for money.
So right now, in most of our classrooms, they totally all need to be done.
I'm sorry?
We really need them for all the classrooms, correct? I mean,
Well-
if we had the money.
No, I mean, we have purifiers in the rooms. This is for larger areas.
Oh, it's just for
Okay,
the
this is
larger
for,
areas. Okay.
and
So
this
we
is
might
the-
be able to cover everything with this. Then.
No, but this is just for larger areas that have hot air units. And the reason we're starting here is this is what we're going to do throughout the district.
Right.
So when we do the HVAC projects out of the $56 million bond, as part of that, those HVAC units, we'll be putting these I-waves in. And this is the first place we can do it. So why not start here?
Okay, excellent. You got-
Matt, I move approval and then.
Second.
And I have a question for Mr. Bosworth. Just for the public's edification, last year we spent nearly $1 million on air purifiers for classrooms, right? So this is essentially a purifier for the big spaces, the gyms, right?
The gym, and, you know, at some point, some of these portables that we put in like here that we got from the state, they're not going to last forever. These are maintenance free. There's no moving parts. There's nothing to go wrong with them. So it's a long-term solution which is potentially a long-term problem that we're facing. And why not start someplace where we can do it?
And do these have a specific COVID kill claim, or is it just how it works would result in the?
No, it's not specifically for
It's not like a
COVID-19, but what it
sanitizer or
does is it strips the proteins off of viruses and bacteria, and they can't live without it. So we've had good experience with it at Pilgrim, so I'm confident that it works.
Yeah, no, this is a good investment. We couldn't get reimbursement right on this, could we?
This is from their grant.
Oh, it's
to
granted.
us.
Oh, right. All right. Well, I'll be a pig.
There
Okay,
are-
thank you.
It's at no cost to us.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, future meetings. We're adding one. We're having a special school committee meeting on August 25th here at 6 PM. And then we'll have our monthly school committee meeting on Tuesday, September 14th. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
Okay, I understand. Let me know. And I put it on the agenda, but she has to actually. I know. They're gonna do it all the time. Yeah.
On the bright side.